Sup y'all, welcome back to North Carolina. I'm your host, Charlie XCX. What's up YouTube? What the hell? I didn't even play anything. Get it, cause copyright takedown, cause they sampled. I thought it was funny. Welcome back to your stepson's favorite YouTube channel. So before we begin, I think I need to address the elephant in the room. New fucking camera, baby. Let's fucking go, dude. It looks so fucking nice. Oh my god, look at this shit. Autofocus. You don't have this. You suck. Take a fucking screenshot from my last video. It looks like fucking PS2 graphics compared to this shit. I'm never fucking failing. Let's fucking go, dude. Oh, and one more thing. I'm wearing different clothes, but that's not important right now. Stick around to the end of the video to learn about how you can win this sealed copy of the 20th anniversary edition of Since I Left You on colored vinyl. I heard this album for the first time about a year ago, I want to say. And over time, my appreciation for this album grew the more and more I listened to it. Not only does the music slap harder than J.K. Simmons and Whiplash, but the cogs behind the machine are almost as interesting as the final product. But enough suspense. You guys can read, you're above a first grade level. Let's talk about it. Let's take a look at the Avalanche's debut studio album, Since I Left You. The Avalanches are an electronic music group originally from Melbourne, Australia. The group had a handful of members from their conception to present day. Gordon McQuilton, Darren Seltman, Dexter Fabe, and James De La Cruz were all involved with the group for various lengths of time since they formed in 1997. And if you get confused on any of the timelines, check out this handy dandy little flowchart someone made. What the fuck? Why would someone make this? But the two main components, and the two that continue to release music under the Avalanche's name, are Robbie Charter and Tony De Blasi. I don't think I can make up a more Italian name than that. This group would create a truly revolutionary piece of music, Since I Left You, released on November 27th, 2000 in Australia, and a US release on November 7th, 2001. The record was so unique, genuinely unlike anything out there at the time. The reason this album became so well known was due in no small part to how it was created. The Avalanche's claim to fame in electronic music was their blatant and open use of sampling, finding a cozy spot in the electronic subgenre list called plunderphonics. Now, for the benefit of those with flash photography, plunderphonics is music created using a lot of samples. The word itself means audio piracy, and this can be looked at almost as a sound collage type of music making. And this album was no different. An absurd amount of samples were used in the making of Since I Left You. The official number is a bit murky, but it's anywhere from 900 to a reported 3,500. Those are some numbers that put Kanye to shame. If the idea of this really intrigues you, the channel Bandstand, everyone knows Bandstand, it's hip-hop Twitter's go-to Who Sampled creator. They created a video diagramming almost every sample in Since I Left You, and it's like fucking half an hour long. Go watch it if you want to see all the instances of samples on the album. I highly recommend. Not only is the album sonically interesting, but the creation of this album was extremely interesting in its own right. There's a video floating around online simply called The Avalanches Documentary. It's less than 15 minutes and it's a really great watch. It follows the band around in the late 90s as they create Since I Left You. I recommend watching this yourself, the link will be in the description, but I'll be giving something of a Cliff Notes version here. Essentially how they created the album was the gang would go out to thrift stores, old record shops, and I think in the video it looks like they go to a fucking garage sale. Anywhere they can go to find old, cheap, and obscure albums. The group would poke around there and grab some albums they think had potential. Their rule in the documentary is that they don't want to spend anything more than $1 when getting records. Once they gathered materials, they break off into chunks, each member taking records and essentially creating a best-of mixtape of all the sounds that they found. And after that, everyone would come together with the samples, and some would bring beginnings of songs, and everyone would sit in a little prayer circle and choose the best samples, match the key, BPM, and make some music. I personally find it extremely impressive that not only can all these group members come together with a similar taste to find awesome samples, but the finished product feels so cohesive. It's like it was scanned directly from one supervillain's brain. Now this album is groundbreaking for the sound, but something that I find almost more groundbreaking is that I'm holding on vinyl, officially released. You don't have to be a rocket science to tell that plunderphonics is a difficult genre to get picked up by a label, because it's entirely illegal samples, aka Lawsuit City. Between 900 and 3,500 samples, all need to be cleared and bought. How the fuck did this thing get pressed on vinyl? Well, you can attribute this album's widespread notoriety to this wizard, Pat Shannahan. She was their knight in shining armor. I could make a case that the reason for so many people listening to this album was because of her. And Pat did not have an easy time. The band never kept track of who they sampled from. They didn't have a list. They just saw a record, chopped it up, put in a song, and bye-bye. They said they worked like this because, I'm paraphrasing here, We thought no one was going to listen to it anyway, so fuck it. They were shocked it even had the possibility to get a major label treatment. So this poor soul had to go through the album, find and clear thousands of samples, successfully might I add. With the occasional Beatles or some huge artist like that saying no, this album is almost entirely the Avalanche's vision. So I salute you, Pat Shannahan, thank you for your service. And the Avalanches were obviously fans of what she did because she handled sample clearance on both Avalanche's albums following Since I Left You, 2016's Wildflower, and 2020's We Will Always Love You. Oh, one more thing I want to touch on. The album cover. Like, come on. This thing is beautiful. The art all over this release is gorgeous. I love it. The deep, rich ocean blues contrasted with the bright orange skyline and the vague brushstrokes is just, oh, it is so good. It's actually been my phone background for the past few weeks. I fucking love it. The painting itself is titled The Sinking of the USS President Lincoln on 31st May 1918 by Fred Dana Marsh. Now I know what you're thinking. Jake, what the hell is this? This doesn't look anything like the album cover. Well, that's because they used it as a base and painted over it. Band member Darren Seltman repainted it and he did a phenomenal job. The artwork was sampled. Genius. I think the look of the album is great. It's so lush, colorful, and illustrates a journey. They absolutely knocked it out of the park here. Okay, Jake, that's nice and all, but how does the music sound? Sounds good, so I'm making this video, dumbass! This album is incredibly happy. I'm a depressing fuck, but when I hear this album, I can't help but smile. Such upbeat percussion, surprisingly lush strings, and bright, vibrant synths and noises from all over the musical genre spectrum. Nothing was off limits when making this album, and that inclusivity and genre celebration really comes through in the music. I'm only going to touch on a handful of tracks because the album is relatively long, 18 tracks, but only barely breaching the 1 hour mark. I think this is absolutely worth your time to listen through in its entirety. Before I mention any specific track, the way that they made these songs flow into each other just honestly shows how technically creative and ahead of their time that they were. Not just making a bunch of random samples work in one song, but also making sure it works with the two songs that sandwich it to create this non-breaking experience. Incredibly talented. The vocal samples at the start of 2 Hearts and 3/4 Time start out so chaotic but break down to one of the most calming vocal samples on the album. The drum groove is calming, paired perfectly with his vintage electronic keyboard sounds, a beautifully calming track. The track Live at Domino's is the most Daft Punkian / vaporwave sounding on the album by far. This is a very danceable, upbeat song, even complete with a robotic lead vocal. I can perfectly envision this song playing in a packed disco club in the early 70s. For all my vaporwave connoisseurs out there, Live at Domino's is the place to be. Pablo's Cruise was definitely an outlier in the track list when I first heard it because the vibe shift. It's so eerie and almost noir in a sense. Fun fact, Pablo's Cruise was the code name this album went under before it was given the official name Since I Left You. You want to talk about non-breaking experiences? The song utilizes the intro of the previous song, Tonight. It's a shift that caught me by surprise considering how happy and upbeat most of this album was prior to this, but I love it. And the theme park sample at the end makes it feel like I'm on a boat moving through fog until I see the colors of an amusement park on the other side, which transitions perfectly into the next song. So I thought, who more fitting to talk about this next song than the man who originally made me listen to this album on my Patreon review series, I've Been Listening to Shit, Mickey T.
For me, Frontier Psychiatrist stands out as the most exciting and enthralling song on Since I Left You, but it also has this unique place and vibe that sits in this album's tracklist. It's exciting in that it's the most bombastic sounding track in the album, and the sheer scale of what the Avalanches went for on this song in particular was massive. The way that they weaved samples to create a song was revolutionary already, but the sheer amount that's in Frontier Psychiatrist and the way that they created this huge sound is just incredible to me. It's just insane. The track utilizes a lot of samples from music to comedy to movies in order to create this bombastic and eccentric track inspired by spaghetti westerns and frontier America, as well as some vocal samples that tie together a narrative about this protagonist's mental state in a way that's got personality. The explosive Enoch Light sample is one of the biggest and best parts of the track for me. Enoch Light generally is just a great artist to sample from, and the way that it's used in this track kind of reels you into the madness that ensues. The tight drum sample keeps it going, while the chopped Wayne and Shuster samples are being used as dialogue too. Also, the way the horns from that Enoch Light sample creepily loops behind the dialogue adds a nice flavour to it. New vocals are being thrown back and forth as the track goes on and keeps the listener engaged, and by the end, the George Barnes guitar sample caps off the track nicely as well, but I've only skimmed over a small portion of what makes this track incredible, because simply put, there's just way too much to unpack. There's so much to unpack, and at this point, I'd probably be wasting your time and Jake's time, so I'm gonna leave it at this.
A song I was a bit lukewarm on when I first heard it, but now I'm kicking myself over because I didn't fall in love with it immediately, is the song Electricity. This song is so fun, it's got an incredibly groovy bass line, hypnotic vocal samples, beeping and blooping synth leads, and an undeniably danceable drum groove. And the screaming vocal samples before each loop is just the piece de resistance. It's the type of song that leans heavy on looping, which is the case for a lot of this record, but every time the chorus loops, instead of me souring on it the more it goes on, I fall more in love with it. And I would be doing a disservice if I didn't talk about my favorite Avalanche song, the one that began it all, and something I would force the customers at the coffee shop I worked at to listen to for hours at a time, Since I Left You. This song is so upbeat and triumphant. The vocal sample of the man saying "Welcome to Paradise" in the beginning is perfect. This song is what paradise sounds like. The lead vocal sample of Every Day by the main attractions is just like, how do you not smile when you listen to that shit? It's ethereal and poppy, like a future nostalgic jam taken from outer space. Such a unique song for such a unique group. I think it's easier for electronic producers to make more sad sounding or more intense sounding music, but it takes real talent to make a song so smile inducing. Considering they just found most of these samples from garage sales and boxes in the street, it's equal parts impressive as it is inspiring. It's nice to talk about happy music once in a while, you know? After a few horrifically depressing albums, a story and an album where it all comes together is a really beautiful thing. The plunderphonic genre makes the Avalanches musical pirates. They technically stole all this music, and some would say that it's lazy and thievery. But how do you listen to this and hear anything else but creating purpose or creating art out of what was forgotten to time? The nature of this beast made it an uphill battle for the world to hear this album, but from sheer determination and talent, the people involved knew that they had something special on their hands, and this album has become beloved to so many people from when it first dropped to over 20 years later. The Avalanches are the embodiment of the phrase, "One man's trash is another man's treasure," and that treasure slaps pretty hard. Thank you for watching me talk about an album I enjoy. I hope I didn't bore you. Shout out to Mickey T for hopping on the video. He was the gentleman on my Patreon that initially recommended me Since I Left You. Like I said, I listened to it for the first time because of him, and big props to him for that. He has his own YouTube channel where he reviews music, that will be linked below, along with his podcast he does with fellow goober Nostalgia. I was actually on a small handful of episodes, so go check that out. But not for those cringe lords, this is why you're really here, for the details on the giveaway. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I will be giving away a copy of the Avalanches Since I Left You 20th anniversary colored vinyl on my Patreon. Now you're probably wondering, well Jake, why are you giving away the deluxe colored version and not the one that you already have? The simple answer to that is it was a birthday present, and I cherish it greatly. And I wanted to give my fans the cream of the crop. So the rules are simple. Everyone who's a member of my Patreon will have their names put into a random wheel. I spin it, and the winner will receive a sealed 20th anniversary copy of Since I Left You from Turntable Labs. Not sponsored, by the way. All my current patrons are automatically entered into the pool, and if you'd like to get in on this for a chance to win, you have to join my Patreon by May 1st. About a month from this video going up, so everyone can get in and have a chance of winning. Think of it as a raffle with a $5 entry fee. I've been meaning to do giveaways on the channel, and I think this is a great place to start and a nice little experiment to see how it goes. But while you're waiting for the vinyl winner to be announced, might as well hang out on my Patreon, because there's some cool shit there. All my videos go up early there, I do artist discography ranked, and I have a monthly exclusive series where I review albums requested by patrons. Like I mentioned before, that's how I heard Since I Left You. Here's a clip of my latest one. But as I continue to ramble on, I can't think of a better album to start with. Rex Orange County, Who Cares? I'm taking these off. Rex Orange County, back at it again with his newest album, Since Pony. I hate to plug the Good Enough podcast again, but on the Patreon, we reviewed Apricot Princess, which was his debut, or no, one of his albums, and I was a fan of it. And then I was going into this thinking, all right, I kind of forgot most of everything from Apricot Princess. Let's go into this open-minded and see what I think, because I'm getting stuff from all over the map here. I'm getting people saying it's great, I'm getting some people saying it's bad, I get some people saying it's mid. So I gave it a listen, and I enjoyed it. So, join the Patreon before May 1st to be entered into the vinyl giveaway. I will announce the winner on the Patreon and my community tab. And with that said, that's all I have to say about the Avalanches for now. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it, and as long as you remember to say a quick thank you to Pat Shannahan on your way out, then you're good to go. So thank you for watching, I appreciate it, and have a pleasant day.